Welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about how to attract, engage, and retain clients to your veterinary practice using digital marketing. My name is Brandon Brashears, and I am super excited about today's episode. It was one of my favorite conversations so far. I know I say that a lot, but today I really got into the weeds with this guest. And today's guest is John Morganstern. And chances are you probably have not heard of John just because he is the head of paid advertising for VaynerMedia. What is VaynerMedia? It's the company that Gary Vaynerchuk started, and John is in charge of that, which is amazing. So he is the head of paid media. His official title at VaynerMedia is head of investment, and he manages and helps with not only the clients there, but also Gary's personal brands like the Wine Club, V Friends, and other things like that. So I was really, really excited to talk to John because he is not just a conceptual viewer of these types of media concepts, but he's actually a practitioner and he's actually doing it. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. So this episode is obviously packed full of incredible content, so many good pieces of insight and value, and it's really cool to get this massive perspective, but also he's got the very unique, in the kind of thick of it, insights of here's how we do things. He's out there doing things, and he's involved in the ad networks and in the ad interfaces, and he's actually doing it. So that's what I absolutely love about talking to John. So this episode is incredible, probably one of my favorite. It just is fantastic. So before we begin, a few things. First, if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe in iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast from. Next, we have a couple messages from sponsors today. Are you looking to get better SEO ranking for your veterinary practice? Probably everyone I know that runs a veterinary hospital would be benefited from having better local SEO. And that's why I want to give you some free tools from one of today's sponsors. It is whitespark.ca. If you go to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/SEO, that's veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/SEO, you can sign up to get a free account to give you some amazing SEO tools. Whitespark gives you everything that you need for better local SEO. If you haven't heard the episode I did with Darren Shaw, be sure to go back and look at it. He is the founder and owner of this company. It is fantastic. They have Google Business Profile Management, local rank tracking, local citation finder, reputation builder. They even have professional SEO services if that's something that you're looking for. So go to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/SEO to check out Whitespark and the free tools that they have available for you. You won't be disappointed. They're really cool. Let me know what you think too. If you need help with any of that, please don't hesitate to reach out. But again, veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/SEO. Have you ever said to yourself, I wish I knew where these clients were coming from? If you've ever been wondering, what is actually driving conversions in your practice, then I have something that I think will be great for you, and that is CallRail. CallRail is a fantastic tool that allows you to measure and see where your conversions are coming from and which of the calls and call sources are driving clients into your practice. CallRail makes it really simple to not only see where your calls are coming from, but the AI tools that they have that track and record the conversation so that you can assign outcomes to the calls is amazing. I highly suggest all of the clients that I have use CallRail. And if you've ever wondered where are my clients coming from, you can try CallRail out for 2 weeks for free. If you go to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/CallRail, you'll be able to try CallRail for yourself and finally know where your clients are coming from. So today we have John Morganstern, or as he calls himself, JMO, most of the time in his social media handles. And I actually found John in TikTok, and I'm so thankful that came across my TikTok algorithm because his content is fantastic. If you search at Johnny Mo, but the O's are zeros, that's his TikTok account. I'm going to link it in the show notes. If you go to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com, you can check that out. But the thing that I love about John, and I referenced this when we started, is that when he's talking about things, he's got this massive global view of advertising and organic marketing and all of these things because he's managing campaigns for massive companies that VaynerMedia has as clients. But at the same time, he's in these ad platforms doing the work, seeing new things that come out. And so I was just thinking this would be amazing to get his insights onto what local businesses should be doing in veterinary practices because he's got just the scale that's unseen, right? I didn't ask him how much he's specifically managed in ad spend, but I would just guess it is astronomical. Uh, for me with veterinary practices and things, um, I get to do some really cool things and scale up some clients, but for the most part, it's all pretty tactical and small in terms of budgets and things like that on the grand scale of things. And so it's really cool to get some insight from somebody like John, who is, so connected to all of these massive brands, these big strategies, and kind of takes a look not just at the individual tactics, but like the ecosystem as a whole. So this conversation is packed full of incredible content, really, really good insights, and it's very actionable. And hopefully it'll help you to think about marketing in a way that will improve your practice. So be sure to give John a follow on TikTok. Be sure to comment on one of his videos and tell him, hey, I heard you on the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. That'd be cool. And thank him for coming on if you find value from this podcast episode. So without further ado, here is my interview with John. Well, thank you so much, John. And do you like to be called JMO better or just John, by the way?
I'm good with either. Everyone at work calls me JMO. It goes back to my last job at Social Code, my first company, because so many of us came to Vayner over the years, and I was
Mm-hmm.
JMO there, and I just became JMO again. But whatever you want, Brandon.
All right, cool. Well, so one of the things that I love about your content is it is both like very high level and also granular. Like, so it's clouds and dirt, right? Which is like Gary's thing.
Yep.
And so I think you have tremendous takes on just general strategy and where things are going. I don't know how you keep up with everything. Like, it's amazing. And then like 2 days ago, you're making a TikTok about like, here, let's go into Shopify and create AI backgrounds. And so like you're
Yes.
actually doing it. And I love that. So I think I'd like to start off by asking you from a very high level, and then I have some like more detailed questions based on where you think things are going, but kind of like a state of digital marketing for specifically local service-based businesses, because veterinarians
Yeah.
are local service-based, right? What do you think some of the biggest trends and opportunities are right now from both an ad buying perspective and then also maybe a social perspective? Because I think you have such great insight on all of those things. So
Yeah. Thank you so much for the kind words and on the doing, like the practitionership and clouds and dirt and weeds. I mean, that's where Gary is. People know he's in it and like see him talk about it a lot, but I think they'd be surprised at like just how in it. Like he leads by example.
that's cool.
And you know that I moonlight as his paid media person, like individually, even though my day job, his day job is really VaynerMedia, the agency and our clients. Um, I am like motivated to do it myself because when he, or even worse, his dad, who's Sasha, who's terrifying because he, you know, Eastern European immigrant, when you spend $1, because I'll do the wine library stuff for Gary and
For
Sasha
sure.
too. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm like, oh, I should literally do this myself because I want to be that careful. But
Yeah.
I fell in love with the ad interfaces like first day at Social Code, just like refreshing and seeing how much of a thing you did and wait, this creative got a better response rate from this. Why? And like also way back in the day, people really didn't know as much as now as how tracking worked and what was targetable or like how ads found them. And I felt like so powerful. So I've always just loved being in these interfaces and I've gotten good counsel over the years of like I tried of like, oh, I should be a manager and I should be selling and I should be a client relationships person. I was like, I dread going out to dinner and schmoozing. Like, I, I'm better at being in these interfaces than I am at like other things. So why not just, and Gary talks about this a lot, just triple down on that. So I just
Yeah.
want to touch on that first since you brought it up about
I think that's a great point, and I'm the same way too. So I run a paid agency, right? And I will never step away from like I'm out launching campaigns. Like I launched PMAX campaigns. I still go
yeah,
through. I'm constantly looking at affinity audiences and segments and seeing what's new. Like especially the obscure affinity audiences. I love finding like they have affinity audience of people interested in veterinary jobs on like YouTube placements. And I think like,
yes,
oh my goodness, that's amazing. We could target, these things. So I totally dig
yes,
that. That's one of the things I
yeah.
love about your content.
Oh yeah, underpriced hunting for underpriced attention. Either because no one has gone as far into the weeds, no one has Lewis and Clarked it as crazy as you have, or just tinkering. Yeah, I love that. But to the first question about state of digital, it's crazy. Every year that goes by, I'm like, oh wow, this is the most. There's more stuff going on this year than ever. Like wow, like I mean, whatever it is, AI or creators or organic social or privacy, and every year it just gets more. Maybe that's just the nature of entropy and the rate of change with tech and everything going on. But this year's off to a blistering start between obviously year two of the AI stuff, and you touched on it to start this. There's the OpenAI, Gen AI, Midjourney, like here's what's possible, and then like this will work in marketing. This will be very important in marketing, but it was not like that tangible or that useful unless folks you really kind of pioneered and did your own thing. Now we're seeing in Google Ads, in Shopify, in Meta, more of that coming.
Yeah.
And Meta, especially, I'm sure you know this, they're just all about creative as the variable and like creative effectiveness, maybe because they probably expect that they won't have inventory growth forever. Like at some
Yeah.
point, you can't keep stuffing more impressions, but you can grow endlessly on if your conversion rate's higher and higher. Google search CPMs can touch $300 no problem. No one cares if the conversion rate you back into a cost per return on ad spend you like. Um, so we're seeing like the year two of AI and the initial kind of use cases that I think at smaller businesses, local businesses, it further evens the scales. Like that stuff isn't helping like top 100 advertisers just yet because they have uh, tons of copywriters that write all that copy, like, and that can do it at least as well, if not better, than what Meta might spin up for copy. Or they're in Adobe Illustrator, and anytime you need something cropped or something cut down, they can happily take care of it. SMBs,
Yeah.
when you're just one person, but when you have smart outcropping in Meta, or when you have generative backgrounds, or you have, just the education of, I'm sure many small business owners don't even know that you can run five text copies and five headlines together and that they'll permutate. Just like the prompting and here's some ideas for you. Uh, Meta continues to really be a friend of the long tail, as they would say, which is great. You're in theory, you should have like copywriters on standby, for free in Meta UI. So anyway, we're starting to see that trickle in. Last year was just the AI sandbox, like research mode piloting.
Yeah.
Now
Hmm.
you've probably seen it, Brandon. Like you could be in an ad account and it's like, you want to use this copy? You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially in PMAX campaigns and
yes,
Meta, they have generative everything, which is cool, and
exactly.
it does really well. And I hadn't thought about that take because I don't work with big companies, but on a lower scale, pretty much everybody is using it. I built a GPT for veterinary practices that's trained on my podcast, and it's really cool. And I see all of these
That's
really cool
awesome.
things coming out for it. And I think that's so. I think with AI in terms of targeting, I think that creative as targeting is getting more
Yes.
important. So, what do you think about that in general? Because I see so many choices kind of just being lumped together. I got an email from
Yeah.
Meta today. It said try to target 2 to 10 million in your ad reach, which is too big
Yeah.
for almost everybody. So, what do you think about the importance of creative as targeting, and how much of a factor do you think that is going to play?
Yeah. It's so fun. It's with all things, there's what the platforms say and um, want you to be doing. There's an overlap of when it's like it's often the right thing. They're saying it for a reason. Like, I remember before conversion-based bidding came out and it just had started to come out and they're like, you should use conversion-based bidding. Um, it was not, this is 2014. It was not as good then as one of us white knuckling it and changing bids, changing bids and like ad set structures and pausing things around. It used to be a real value area for media buyers. And then, so if you'd taken the advice, just like I'm sure you'll relate to this, if you had taken the advice to go in on PMAX on day one, it's like, yes, they want to drive the adoption because it's where the puck is moving, and you as the advertiser or agency need to respect that, because often it's like, whether you like it or not, there's no going back. Get in, get on, or get out.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but
But it works so good because it's all branded search and you can't choose anything, right?
yeah, no,
So
but
it's just
also it's
like,
like, you need to see for yourself too, for because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They want everyone to do PMAX because then it'll everything's learning periods and machine learning training. It's like it'll suck to start, but once you get it over the hump, it'll get better for everyone. So they kind of need to just like charge ahead. But the dominant in the game theory of it, kind of the dominant strategy, I think, is, well, always if something works, do it, duh. But assuming if you like us, what you saw was early PMAX was like this isn't really crushing it or like replacing the things that it says it can totally replace, or it does more branded, there's not enough controls. Dominant strategy is to be like measured in your approach, wait for the market, and always be validating on your own and catch up over time. But if I'd followed use conversions bidding by Meta back then immediately, wouldn't have been the right thing to do. But a year later, it was totally the right thing to do. So
yeah.
it's always like, listen to their advice. It's very telling to signal what they care about and where things are going.
Hmm.
But trust but verify. Because I remember when there was a long period of time where Meta was like, you should absolutely buy Facebook fans. Like your Facebook page and your community, you buy fans, and that'll increase your reach. That was like a best practice.
Yeah, I
They're like,
remember.
now they're like you talk about engagements or buying engagements or like followers in general, and no Meta rep wants to even literally acknowledge that you've spoken. Then it became, oh no, it's all about engaged fans. You should buy engagements. Meta would never ever say that now. That was like, that was the guidance. And
Yeah,
so you just become cynical, not cynical, but uh, you become cautious and your own person of just like, you say that's the thing. Meta used to say do two creatives and don't touch it ever. Now they're like
yeah,
creative, a lot of it. So always come here
definitely.
as my long ramble there. But yeah, creative is targeting. Same sort of thing. Like Meta's all about it, talking about it. Creative diversification. We talked to Meta last week, and they were like, we've actually been doing a lot of studying, and because I don't know if you've seen it like we have. They say have more of a diverse array of creative, like very different things, feature different talent, totally different formats, and that will help increase your total reach. If you're running a target and you're just kind of pummeling the same people with your conversion ads, um, it's really because like we're using the best ads we can, but it's because you haven't found creative that works with more people. You'll
Yeah,
reach more people if you segment in. Talking with them last week, they're like, so we've been studying this a lot. It our algos are not behaving that way as much as we would like, and it's like, yeah, we've been kind of trying. We love the whole thesis and diversification, and it makes total sense. But same sort of
yeah,
thing. It's like I'm sure it will get there, but we'd still see, hey, if you have a top creative and you're rotating in all sorts of totally different stuff, it's still regressively serving to that, like more meta than I think you realize. And they realize that now they fix it. So it's definitely the
very
thing.
interesting.
It's made a lot of strides.
Hmm.
We're seeing a lot sometimes. It's like, okay, let's literally pause our top assets because meta just is not going to stop going there
Yeah,
and force serve things a little bit. But then once it kicks into gear, I'm sure they'll figure this out. I mean, Zuck talked about his Meta's computing power in their AI is like 8x bigger than Tesla, and people thought Tesla was like astronomical, so it could get crazy quickly. Um,
definitely.
I think the coolest example of creative targeting is really what TikTok brought about, because organic, the targeting is anyone on Earth, and yet
Yeah,
my stuff for like ad nerds like us found its way to you, and
yeah, absolutely.
and and clearly the creative and the organic algo, it's all one and the same, is
Exactly.
targeting, and it's all around relevance and interests. And So organic, it's the most true because with organic as well, it's true merit because it's like they could have served anything and they served your thing. So we
Yeah.
will always love you. You've I'm sure heard me talk about this using organic and that creative is targeting, find success and then ramp that into paid. Um, and yeah, I think Meta's just trying to replicate that with the pure paid side. But we also
Yeah.
see that a lot of folks just run a shortcut and not train at altitude with organic and just be like, we'll just do it in paid. And in the
Well,
case that might work on Meta. In the case of TikTok, it's like until you have organic success in some fashion, the paid like it's just not really going to be there. And we see that all the time.
I
People are like, we're still
totally
going to
agree.
try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, that was my perspective because I've been paid since like 2009, and so I was like, paid is the best. Organic is stupid. You can't force growth.
Yes.
But then I think probably 2021, I saw that TikTok changed it with interest based. I
Really
mean,
did.
it's amazing how engaging TikTok's algorithms are, right? And if the organic is that good, if you can replicate that in a paid side, you can just take off. And so I
Exactly.
started doing organic YouTube like personally to say like I need to figure out how to create content. Probably YouTube organic's the hardest to break through. So if I can
Yes.
create content for a niche, I'll probably be much better as an ad buyer. Uh,
Totally. Same exact.
and
It's the same reason I got into it. Like, oh, I'm a media buyer, but creative is really the thing. And like, I'll be vulnerable, and also I want to learn because you'll just be that much better. And I was a paid snob as well.
it was
And
definitely paid snob.
and by the way, that was right for the time because
Absolutely.
organic was just like killed for a long time.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's times change, and also like Meta's conversion algorithm. There's a time when they were so invested in a badass ads product
Yeah, that
that
was the best.
that
I loved
that
it.
was great, and
Those
like
best
organic,
times.
it truly wasn't as good. But what's the coolest part about like this modern incarnation of organic with TikTok is, and I'm sure you feel it too, it drives business
Yeah.
like in direct and indirect ways. Like
Well, I
I
have one client who does.
yeah,
So TikTok is not widely adopted by veterinary practices. I have one client who does it, and she continuously goes viral. She has like 120 million likes for a pet
amazing,
hospital, and she'll have people fly across the country to
exactly,
come to her pet hospital. Like
100%.
fly across the country. It's out of this insane.
100%. And like that always wasn't a thing. It used to be like you could go viral on Facebook-ish if you like did a dumb meme and you would not feel it on your business at all. But it's a different thing now. Um, and
Totally
that's
agree. And
yeah,
I think TikTok Shop too is really changing. I mean, so I
yeah,
think the benefit from an ad buyer perspective is now they have purchase data. I've bought stuff on TikTok Shop too to see and it's fantastic experience. I think it's going to be massive. How important do you think having native purchasing options? I mean, Meta, I don't really think their Instagram shops have even come close to TikTok.
no,
What is your opinion about that?
I agree. Meta, they're so good at copying, and once they see a trend is ironclad happening, they jump on it. I think they're seeing that now with TikTok Shop. And I think that they're going to really dial up. And they're like, oh, great, something for us to like work on, like with Reels. And I think they'll reverse engineer it. But I totally agree. It's not for so many. One, TikTok Shop is closer to like Amazon Seller Central than it
Exactly.
is Facebook, Instagram Shop. Um, it's interesting that Meta is like mandating that checkout is integrated for all shops by April because that's a
Hmm.
little sign, true native payments.
Yeah.
But
And did they
Instagram,
recently set up a deal with Amazon too for native purchase through
yeah,
Amazon?
for login with Prime, it seems like though it's just for like Amazon, the marketing org and Meta. It's not
Got
like
it.
it'd be amazing if we could all authenticate in our seller account and like run ads optimized for Amazon conversion through Meta. It's that I think is that it's like such a cold war that they'll have these moments,
Yeah,
but that could cannibalize Amazon's ads business. It's different than
definitely.
what Amazon's doing with Pinterest. But yeah, I think with one, the same virality that disrupted Instagram to create Reels with TikTok in general, that same thing with shop products is disrupting Instagram shop of like, oh wow, you can get this crazy organic reach and it's the interest graph. You don't need to have followers. That same thing now with like, holy crap, you can hit organic or have a creator affiliate and like sell a ton of product without ads. That's a new disruptive force. And Instagram had, of course, create unless you're a really good brand content and your brand shop is humming, which some people are. it's really creator and creator affiliate driven. Um, and we've set up some TikTok shops at this point for a few brands, and that's a whole like TikTok seller center, affiliate. It's like a beast in terms of functionality.
Yeah.
Meta has always they've never figured out how to work with creators. Like influencer marketing was huge on Instagram, and it was
Yeah.
influencers just arbitraging organic, and Meta like never liked it. Knew they couldn't kill. They would have probably loved to kill organic reach, but couldn't because it was so important to keep those influencers on the platform. Then influencer marketing and identification came. They built Brand Collabs Manager, but it's like not a good like discovery or project management tool to work. It's nowhere near Creator Marketplace on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then they even had Instagram affiliate, creator affiliate for like a hot second, like a few years ago, and they killed it. They
Yeah.
literally killed it, which they probably thought was right at the time, and now it's like, oops.
Yep. Definitely.
Um, and that's where there's such a distant third still with versus YouTube and TikTok with how they just work with creators, period. Like passive monetization, active brand deals, and now certainly with Shop. But there's always going to be the trade-off, and we see this is big brands are coming to TikTok Shop for sure. It's been
Hmm.
convoluted because it is like a new sales channel, like setting up an Amazon, and there's a lot of red tape, and it's not the easiest to do. Um, but there's always the big trade-off with the data limitations that come with setting up a native shop. That's been
Yeah.
part of the hesitation with Meta. TikTok's even worse, and there will be big brands that don't do it because they're like, it's existential. We know we're going to miss out on a lot of things, but like we can't not have our first part. Like long term, we'll be vulnerable, which I
Yeah.
respect. I think there's a happy medium. We have a lot of brands that they're just picking, since a lot of brands who are can be a little high horse sometimes are like, hey, it's like dupe products, it's cheap, it's spammy. They're not wrong. Um, so maybe have like a factory versus core store strategy, which a lot of folks are considering. We'll just do our kind of some SKUs here. We won't let it erode the brand. We like that because it's like win, like take advantage of this moment in some way. Play the long game with your data and your product and your brand value, because you're never going to beat Timu or like
Yeah.
some of these companies in terms of, it's like I see Apple like AirPod Pro headphones for like $4.30. It's like, how is this? That's a whole different story. Like this
Totally.
might need to
Yeah.
get cleaned up, but
Yeah.
it's a real time. And for SMBs, my good veterinary like it's the most fun. This is why Gary always loves having Sasha Group and talk to entrepreneurs, because it's like it's so there for you guys for the taking.
It really is. I think so. My personal thought is probably create content from like a TikTok first perspective and then push out to Reels and probably YouTube Shorts, which I think is also very underrated. Um, but what is your thoughts about different platforms for stages of the funnel? And do you think that that's really important for even small local businesses, or do you think they should just primarily focus on just one thing? Or kind of what's your opinion on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, I mean, and if Gary were here, he'd say the same thing. It's like as much as you possibly can, you want to be just like Elon wants Earth to be a multi-planetary species. It's like you don't want to have
Yeah.
all your eggs in one basket. And as things come and go, and you jockey them all, that's just always dominant. However, resources are finite. Um, Different things have different levels of lift. It's way easier to tweet than it is to make TikTok videos. So I think that, and I need to be so much better at this myself, as much as one possibly can, building the muscle of whether they start with Reels or Shorts or TikTok. If they're have to be in the short form video game for a zillion reasons, organic, paid,
Mhm.
like everything.
Yeah.
But if you say you start on TikTok, like set up a system or just get in the habit of everything you post there, you do post in Shorts and Facebook and Instagram Reels, and ideally even Amazon Inspire and Snap Spotlight. Um, like it's more chances. It's more at bats where I'm sure you have seen. You might have a best platform. For me, it's TikTok, but you might have one that did okay on TikTok and then did better on Instagram than it did on TikTok, or one that just really took off on Shorts. So you're just missing at bats of stuff you've already made if you don't. But at the same time, the platforms will always want to force you to build for them first
Yeah.
and verify that you are. So it's not a coincidence that TikTok is pushing long form and openly talking about how they want long form. The monetization program is for, I don't know if you're in the creativity beta, but it's just for minutes over video. Sorry, videos over a minute. It's
Cool.
like, yes, they like that for time spent and they can probably have more ad load, like mid-roll ads in it too. But
Mm-hmm.
you're only monetizing content over 60 seconds. That's quite a coincidence given the cap for content length is 60 seconds on or 90 seconds on your peers. So it's like
Yeah.
we have seen this where so many people will be like, I just make 60 seconds or less because then I can post it everywhere. And that's still great, but long form matters on TikTok. Watermarks, like they don't want to see watermarks. The more you can build
Yep.
natively where they know you built it, you use their captions, like that seems to matter. And then, and Gary talks about this a ton, like the platform nuances, like the copy, like what your title is for YouTube Short matters.
Yeah.
And there's a whole craft to it. And thumbnails matter. Mr. Beast talks about this a lot.
Yeah.
Like matters a lot in a way that doesn't matter. It doesn't exist as a thing on TikTok.
Totally.
So you have to sweat those things too. Um, I'm just coming from someone who talks a big game about this, but I just am used to the TikTok video editing. And I just ramble, so I always do long form. Uh, one is greater than zero, though. You have to post.
Yeah, definitely.
Start there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you're super busy. So, what do you think is maybe one of the things that's probably the biggest opportunity or biggest tip for somebody that's doing marketing for a veterinary hospital that they might not think of that you might have a
Yeah.
hot take on?
I mean, I'm sure this is thought of to varying degrees, but my goodness, like your vets and people in the pets industry have ringers, which are hilarious, awesome pets. They're in the profession that has the thing people spend most of their time on social media watching.
Totally.
And
Yep.
we've worked with in my career over Petco, Chewy, etc. And they know this. And like, there's pet influencers. And it's a big part of their content, but that's a superpower. Um, so it's one thing if you're like a plumber. It's like, but man,
Yeah.
if you work with pets, it's like use that. Um, but you always want to fuse like fun, which could just be like cute dog videos or whatever, with your practice. Like we've learned this, and brands have learned this, where it's like you could hit 1 million views on TikTok, and it could do a little for your business or do a ton.
Yeah.
So like try to thread that needle where you need attention, you need views, you need the hook, but you at your practice doing something and showing your craft and it's cute and funny is kind of like ideal versus um, but you always have to balance those things.
Yeah.
And I would also say that like if whether you're adjacent, literally veterinary or adjacent to it, um, brands like want to be in the creator economy. They're very risk averse. Um, it's kind of like when you want a promotion, do the job you want to be promoted into. So it just is so natural. Like if you want to work with Petco, like make content, tag them. Don't like bet, but just make a great piece of content and tag them. And if it does well, they'll reach out to you. Um,
Sure.
we work with Bose. Like we've seen awesome artists make something with Bose and and it's a great ad. And yes, they did it for free. Um, but it's a give and take too. Like the glory days of influencer marketing where brands would just give you a briefcase of money and you didn't have to deliver anything is over.
Yeah.
Now you really, whether it's affiliate and you got to drive sales or so, consider that and tag. Um, you'd be surprised. I don't know if
Very cool.
that maybe would help too.
That definitely makes sense. I think there's just tons of opportunities, and for the most part, most vets don't necessarily want to work with the Petcos or Chewy because they see them as competition. But I mean, in the space, there's just so many opportunities that
Right.
of
More
products
so
that they
like
are already using.
anyone, yeah, anyone they would want to work with or collab with, including like other local businesses
Totally.
or charities. Just like Gary has a video that's great on this about local, and if you have a podcast, have like the local person on the podcast at the bar and like become famous in your community. And there's so much you can do there.
Yeah, totally. I have one client that does a podcast and they do that locally and it works amazingly well. So
Yeah.
it's fantastic. I think that's really great. Well, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it. It was great getting all your insights, and thank you again for taking time for our little community to, share the wisdom. So I appreciate you very much, man.
I love this about TikTok and the internet, that like you're in Idaho, you're run an agency, do what you do, like and we're talking and like have so much, this is I could talk about this with you forever.
I could too. We could keep going. So
It's great. I have a 2:30. I would love to keep going, but shout out Greenwich Village Animal Hospital. They're the clinic that my wife and I use for our pup Lainey, who's creating mayhem somewhere. But Greenwich Village Animal Hospital in the West Village, they're the best.
No joke. So very cool.
Amazing.
I'm gonna have to check. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
wild. Well, thank you
best.
so much, and have a great day. And appreciate you.
You too, Brandon. Can't wait to see this out there. This will be fun. Thank you again.